wake up and it's Tuesday again, count how many Tuesdays you remember. If it's more than one, do not go to work. This is Marcus Webb, Emergency Coordination Center. We're tracking reports of a temporal recursion event affecting multiple zones across the Tri-County area. Initial reports came in Monday night. By Wednesday morning, we realized Monday night kept happening. Here's what we know. Here's what we don't. Here's what you do next. The anomaly presents as a standard Tuesday that refuses to end. Not a time freeze. Time moves normally within the day. But when you sleep Tuesday night, you wake up Tuesday morning. Same date, same weather, same conversations, until you start changing them. At 6:47 a.m. Tuesday, Margaret Chen was making coffee in her kitchen on Maple Drive when her husband asked about their dinner plans. She told him about the new Italian place. He smiled, said it sounded perfect. Tuesday night they went. Good food, decent wine, home by 10. Wednesday morning, except it wasn't Wednesday, Margaret was making coffee when her husband asked about dinner plans. She suggested the Italian place again. He paused, tilted his head. Didn't we just go there? She laughed it off. That was last week, honey. But his expression didn't change. He kept staring at her like she'd said something impossible. They went to the Italian place again. Same table, same waiter, same wine recommendation. The waiter didn't recognize them. Thursday morning, that was still Tuesday, Margaret's husband didn't ask about dinner. He was sitting at the kitchen table with a notebook, writing down everything he remembered. We've been to that restaurant twice, he said. Same conversation with the waiter both times. He recommended the Chianti both times like it was the first time. Margaret checked her phone. Tuesday, October 15th. She checked the newspaper. Tuesday, October 15th. She called her sister in Portland. What day is it there? She asked. Her sister laughed. Tuesday, obviously. Are you feeling okay? By the 5th Tuesday, Margaret's husband had filled 3 notebooks. He'd started testing things. Left a coffee mug on the porch Monday night. It was gone Tuesday morning. Broke a picture frame Tuesday afternoon. It was whole again the next Tuesday morning. But the notebooks remained. Anything he wrote down stayed written. We're not resetting, he told Margaret. Everything else is. The 7th Tuesday, Margaret's husband wasn't in the kitchen. She found him in the garage, staring at the wall where he'd written in permanent marker, Tuesday, number 7. Margaret doesn't remember yesterday. Below it, in different handwriting, Tuesday, number 6. She asked about the Italian place again. Margaret didn't remember writing that. We've confirmed similar reports from 43 households across zones 2 through 8. The pattern is consistent. One person retains memory across iterations, while others experience selective amnesia. The remembering person can document events, but documentation from previous iterations disappears unless physically protected. Animals are unaffected. Dogs still recognize their owners. Cats still avoid the same corners they avoided Monday. Birds follow the same migration patterns they established before the loop began. Here's what's concerning. The loops aren't perfect. Small changes accumulate. A traffic light stays red 30 seconds longer. A store clerk calls in sick who worked the previous Tuesday. These variations suggest the anomaly is degrading. At 2:17 p.m. on what should have been the following Monday, dispatch received a call from James Morrison on Elm Street. He was whispering. My wife keeps asking what day it is, he said. Every few hours, she asks what day it is. When I tell her Tuesday, she nods and walks away. Then, an hour later, she asks again. She's asked me 17 times today. How many Tuesdays have you experienced, Mr. Morrison? This is the 8th. But she only remembers the first one. Every morning, she wakes up thinking it's the first Tuesday. She makes the same breakfast, reads the same news, calls her mother at the same time. But during the day, something breaks down. She starts asking what day it is. We sent a unit to check on the Morrisons. Officer Patricia Valdez reported back at 4:30 p.m. "The house is normal," she said. "Mrs." Morrison answered the door, seemed confused about why we were there. Mr. Morrison was in the basement with a calendar. He'd marked off 8 Tuesdays, but the calendar only showed 1 Tuesday. When I asked Mrs. Morrison what day it was, she looked at me like I'd asked her to solve calculus. Officer Valdez paused. "There's something else." Mr. Morrison showed me a video on his phone. He'd recorded his wife asking what day it is. The timestamp showed Tuesday, 2:17 p.m., but he said he recorded it yesterday. The phone thinks it's all the same day. The Morrison case revealed something else. Their dog, a golden retriever named Max, had been acting increasingly agitated. Each Tuesday morning, Max would greet Mr. Morrison, normally tail wagging, ready for his walk. But by afternoon, the dog would start whimpering, pacing between rooms, scratching at doors that led nowhere. "Max knows," Morrison told Officer Valdez. "He remembers all the Tuesdays." Watch his eyes when my wife asks what day it is. He looks at her like she's broken. We've documented similar animal behavior in 17 other households. Pets showing signs of distress that escalate throughout each Tuesday iteration. Cats hiding in places they've never hidden before. Dogs refusing to eat food they normally love. Birds in cages becoming silent by midday, then frantic by evening. Dr. Sarah Kim, a veterinarian in Zone 4, has been documenting her own experience. She's retained memory across 11 Tuesdays now. Her notes describe how animals brought to her clinic exhibit temporal displacement symptoms, disorientation, repetitive behaviors, and what she calls anticipatory anxiety. "They know something's wrong with time," she wrote. "A cat came in Tuesday morning with a broken leg. Same cat, same injury, 11 Tuesdays in a row. But each time, the cat is more terrified. Not of the injury, of being here again. I need to play you something." This was recorded by James Morrison on what he believes was the 6th Tuesday. Listen carefully.
Day is it today?
Tuesday, honey.
That recording was made 6 days ago, according to Morrison. His phone shows it was made today. The metadata is corrupted. Creation date, file size, everything shows Tuesday, October 15th, 2:17 p.m. If you're experiencing temporal recursion, document everything by hand. Digital devices sync to the loop. Write on paper, carve into wood, use permanent markers on walls. The loop preserves physical changes but resets digital information. Do not try to break the pattern by staying awake. We've had 3 people attempt this. They report that after approximately 18 hours of consciousness, they experience what they describe as forced sleep. They close their eyes for what feels like seconds and wake up Tuesday morning. Sarah Kim, a nurse at General Hospital, tried staying awake through her 4th Tuesday. She drank coffee, took cold showers, had her husband keep her walking. At 11:43 p.m., she was standing in her living room when she suddenly felt overwhelmingly tired. It wasn't natural tiredness, she told us. It was like someone flipped a switch. I sat down for just a moment, and then I was waking up Tuesday morning again. The concerning part, Sarah's husband doesn't remember helping her stay awake. He remembers going to bed at his usual time, but Sarah's handwritten notes confirm he was awake with her until 11:43 p.m. We're seeing memory degradation in non-remembering individuals. They're losing more than just the previous iterations. They're losing pieces of Tuesday itself. Mrs. Morrison now asks what day it is every 30 minutes. Robert Chen has started forgetting his wife's name by evening, even though he remembers it perfectly each Tuesday morning. At 7:15 p.m. on the 9th Tuesday, we received an emergency call from David Park on Sycamore Street. He was crying. "My daughter doesn't recognize me," he said. "She knows I'm her father, but she keeps asking why I look so tired. She says I look like I haven't slept in weeks." David had been documenting the loops. His notes showed progressive physical deterioration, weight loss, dark circles, trembling hands, but his daughter, who doesn't retain memories between iterations, sees him fresh each Tuesday morning, except now she's noticing the accumulated wear. She asked me how many days I've been awake, David said. I told her it was just Tuesday, and she said, "Daddy, you look like you've been awake for a year." Children seem more sensitive to the inconsistencies. They notice when adults look wrong, when familiar routines feel forced, when conversations don't flow naturally. Several parents report their children becoming increasingly anxious as the iterations continue, even though the children don't remember previous Tuesdays. 8-year-old Emma Rodriguez started drawing pictures on her third Tuesday. Her mother, who retains memories, watched Emma draw the same house, the same family, the same sun in the corner. But each iteration, Emma added something new. Dark clouds, broken windows, figures standing in the background with no faces. "Mommy," Emma said on the 7th Tuesday, "why do I keep drawing this? I don't remember drawing it before, but my hand knows what to do." Her mother found Emma's previous drawings hidden under her mattress. 7 identical houses, each one slightly more disturbing than the last. In the final drawing, the house was surrounded by clocks, all showing different times, all wrong. We've established a protocol for affected individuals. If you're retaining memories across iterations, document everything in permanent, physical form. Do not attempt to convince non-remembering individuals about the loop. Maintain normal routines to prevent psychological breakdown in family members. Monitor your physical condition. The loop doesn't reset your body's accumulated stress. Contact emergency services using the phrase Tuesday documentation, so we know you're affected. If you're not retaining memories but someone in your household is acting strangely, trust their guidance about daily routines. Don't question why they seem to know things in advance. If they tell you not to go somewhere or do something, listen. Write down anything that feels important, even if you don't know why. The loop appears to be weakening. We're seeing more variations, more glitches. Tuesday, October 15th, is becoming unstable. Some clocks now show Tuesday, October 15th, 11:59 p.m. for extended periods. Others jump between Tuesday and Wednesday randomly. At 11:47 p.m. on what should have been the 10th Tuesday, Margaret Chen called us. She was whispering, "My husband is asleep, but the clock says 11:47. It's been 11:47 for 20 minutes. I can hear Wednesday trying to start. There's this sound, like gears grinding, and the house keeps shifting. The kitchen is sometimes on the left, sometimes on the right. Are you retaining memories now, Mrs. Chen? I remember everything. All 10 Tuesdays, but they're all happening at once. I can see my husband asking about dinner plans, and I can see him writing in his notebook, and I can see him sleeping, all at the same time. The house is full of Tuesdays." We lost contact with Mrs. Chen at 11:52 p.m. When we sent a unit to check, the house was empty. Not abandoned, empty. No furniture, no personal belongings, no sign anyone had ever lived there. The neighbors don't remember the Chens. But we found something. In the basement, carved into the concrete wall, Tuesday, number 10. The loop is breaking. We're falling through the cracks. I need you to hear this. We recorded it outside the Chen house at midnight.
What day is it? What day is it?
The voice matches Margaret Chen's. The recording was made in front of an empty house that neighbors insist has been vacant for months. We're tracking 17 households where the remembering individual has disappeared. In each case, the house becomes empty, and neighbors lose all memory of the missing family. But physical evidence remains. Carved messages, written notes, photographs that show people neighbors don't recognize. Detective Ray Martinez has been investigating these disappearances. His report describes something he calls temporal erosion. Houses that should contain families show signs of long-term vacancy, dust patterns, faded paint, disconnected utilities. But personal items remain. A child's drawing on a refrigerator, a coffee mug with fresh coffee, car keys on a kitchen counter. It's like they were edited out of reality, Martinez wrote, but the editing was sloppy. Pieces of their lives are still there, just floating in empty houses. Martinez found something else. In each empty house, the clocks had stopped at different times. Kitchen clock at 3:17 a.m., bedroom alarm at 7:45 a.m., living room, grandfather clock at 11:23 p.m. All Tuesday times, but from different iterations. The houses remember all the Tuesdays, Martinez concluded, even after the people are gone. If you're experiencing Tuesday recursion and the loop begins showing signs of instability, clocks behaving erratically, physical spaces changing, multiple versions of events happening simultaneously, do not try to stay in the house. The loop isn't just resetting time. It's creating pockets of isolated temporal space. When those pockets collapse, everything inside them gets erased. We don't know where the disappeared individuals go. We don't know if they're still experiencing Tuesday somewhere else, or if they've been removed from time entirely. What we know is that the loop is spreading. We've confirmed cases in zones 10 through 15 now. Always Tuesday. Always October 15th. The pattern is accelerating. New cases are experiencing shorter intervals between iterations. Instead of full 24-hour cycles, some people are reporting 18-hour Tuesdays, 12-hour Tuesdays. One man in Zone 12 claims he's experienced Tuesday morning 47 times in what feels like a single day. Thomas Wright, a mechanic in Zone 13, called us yesterday, or what he thought was yesterday. I keep waking up at 6 a.m., he said, but by the time I finish my coffee, it's 6 a.m. again. I've had breakfast 17 times today. My wife keeps making the same eggs, asking the same questions. She doesn't notice that I'm not eating anymore. Wright's case represents a new development. Micro-loops within the larger Tuesday recursion. Instead of full days repeating, specific hours or minutes cycle endlessly. Wright experiences 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. repeatedly, while his wife resets every hour without awareness. The worst part, Wright told us, is that I can feel time trying to move forward. Like there's pressure building up behind 7 a.m., but something's blocking it. Every loop, the pressure gets stronger. I think when it finally breaks through, it's going to take everything with it. Here's what we think is happening. The anomaly is consuming temporal energy. Each iteration requires more power to maintain, so the loops are getting shorter and more unstable. Eventually, they collapse entirely, taking the affected individuals with them. Dr. Elena Vasquez, a physicist consulting with our team, has a theory. Time isn't linear in these affected areas, she explained. It's become circular, like a record with a skip. But the needle is wearing down the groove. Eventually, the groove becomes so damaged that the needle jumps to a completely different track, or falls off the record entirely. If you're in an affected area and haven't experienced recursion yet, leave immediately. Don't pack, don't say goodbye, just go. The anomaly appears to anchor to specific locations. Once you're outside the affected zone, Tuesday progresses normally. If you're already experiencing recursion, focus on documentation and survival. Don't try to solve the mystery. Don't try to break the loop. Just survive each iteration and hope the anomaly burns itself out before your pocket of time collapses. We've lost contact with emergency services in zones 2 through 8. Their last transmission was Tuesday, October 15th, 11:59 p.m. When we tried to send backup units, they found empty buildings. Dispatch centers with no equipment, no personnel, no records of ever being operational. But we keep receiving calls. People reporting Tuesday recursion, asking for help, begging us to explain what's happening. The calls come from numbers that don't exist, from addresses that show up empty when we investigate. Officer Janet Torres took one of these calls yesterday. A woman claiming to be trapped in her 15th Tuesday, begging for help. Torres traced the call to a house on Pine Street. When she arrived, the house was a vacant lot.